Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Welcome to Spectrum News at 4. I am Emedion James, coming to you live from Uyo. Let's take a look at today's headlines. House of Reps Committee dismisses corruption allegations after NELCOM. Presidency dismisses allegation of Tinubu'S involvement in opposition crisis. Plus, Trump says Ukraine to receive U.S. air defense system. We'll bring you details of the stories and more in just a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned. We begin the news is out from the national scene where the presidency has dismissed allegations that President Bola Tinubu is behind recent disruptions faced by opposition parties in the country, calling the claims unfounded and politically motivated. The special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, stated this during an interview with newsmen. Onanuga denied the report that the president was interfering with meetings or activities of opposition coalition, particularly the new alliance between former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Labour Party Obito Obi, and others under the African Democratic Congress. Recall that opposition leaders had alleged that venues booked for a political event were suddenly cancelled and that members of the ADC coalition had to work long distance to reach the Shegu Musa Yar'Adua Center in Abuja to avoid attracting security attention and raising a blockade. Onanuga therefore rejected claims that the current administration is suppressing dissent or stifling opposition voices. From the red chambers, the senators called on the federal government to rethink its approach to the power sector by ending the indirect enrichment of private electricity distribution companies with public funds. The chairman, Senate Committee on the Environment, Senator Eunice Akintunde, disclosed this at the plenary. Speaking on the floor of the Senate, the lawmaker decried the current practice where government funds are being used to purchase electricity transformers for communities only for the assets to be taken over by discos. The lawmaker described the trend as unsustainable and unjust, adding that the government must develop a structured subsidy regime that truly benefits ordinary Nigerians. The senator also drew attention to what he called a fundamental structural imbalance in Nigeria's power sector. According to him, while generations and distribution have been privatized, the government still retains control of the aging transmission infrastructure and are described as underutilized and inadequate. In the meantime, the Senate has removed the suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Botiu-Duagin as the chairman of the Senate Committee on Diaspora. The Red Chambers announced her removal yesterday during plenary. The suspended senator was immediately replaced by Senator Anyekan Basi, who represents Akwa Ibom Northeast Senatorial District. Reports say the change is believed to be connected to her unresolved suspension. Recall that Senator Akpoti Uduagin was appointed chair of the Diaspora and NGOs Committee on February 1, 2025, following her earlier removal as chair of the Senate Committee on Local Content. We move now to the Green Chambers, where the House of Representatives Committee on Public Assets has dismissed allegations of corruption practices levied against the Nigerian Electricity Liability Management Company by a civil society group, the Association for Public Policy Analysis. President of the civil society organization, Prince Will Okorie, had accused NALCOM of misappropriation of funds, unethical operations, among sundry allegations, while questioning the continued existence of NALCOM 12 years after its privatization. The chairman of the subcommittee, Dabo Ismaili, said at a resumed investigative hearing on the petition that the panel took the allegations seriously and immediately launched a comprehensive investigation to unmask what truly transpired. The Bauchi lawmaker said NALCOM's existence is backed by the provision of the Nigerian Electricity Act 2023, a position he said contradicts the position of the practitioner that the agency ought to have folded up in 2017 after the privatization of Power Holding Company of Nigeria. On electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has said it will, in the next few days, deploy a new portal for the registration of new political parties to ensure a seamless process. The National Commission and Chairman of the Information and Voter Education Committee, Sam Olumekong, announced this in a statement in Abuja. The statement noted that the Commission will conclude the final testing of the portal next week before deployment. It added that the next step for associations that meet the requirement to proceed to the application stage will be announced. The Commission will also issue guidelines to facilitate the filing of applications under the PFRAS portal. In a separate development, Rivers State Sole Administrator, retired Vice Admiral Iborite Ibas, has charged the newly sworn-in permanent secretaries to uphold public trust by strictly adhering to accountability, due process, and effective policy implementation. Ibas, who gave the charge during the swearing-in of the 8 newly appointed permanent secretaries in Port Harcourt, emphasized the important role of civil service leadership in ensuring good governance and institutional integrity. According to the administrator, the appointment are both strategic and timely as the exit of seasoned officers had created administrative gaps. Ibas underscored the need for new appointees to drive public sector reforms by embracing innovation, digital transformation, and improved coordination across ministries, warning that financial mismanagement, stressing that fiscal discipline and transparency are now non negotiable. He further urged them to challenge the bureaucratic status quo, foster excellence, and help rebuild public confidence in the civil service through ethical leadership and results oriented administration. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pasumoino has reiterated his administration's commitment to partner with the Nigerian Air Force (NAF) to enhance security in the state, especially along the waterways. The governor stated this while receiving a delegation from the Nigerian Air Force led by the Air Officer Commanding AOC Mobility Command Yenogwa, Air Vice Marshal Sunday Aneke on a captive visit to his office at the Government House, Uyo. Governor Eno commended now for a strategic collaboration with other security agencies in curbing insecurity, especially in states within the Mobility Command's jurisdiction. Highlighting the state's effort in maintaining security, he said all the security agencies in the state, including units of the Nigerian Air Force, have been working collaboratively, adding that the synergy has enhanced the security of lives and property in the state. He acknowledged and appreciated the cooperation and support of the Mobility Command to the state and also thanked the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, for his excellent, diligent, and professional service to the country. The governor said the only missing link in the state was the lack of air assets, which, according to him, was in works. He therefore appealed for the continued support of the Air Force in clearing Greek and isolated islands of sea pirates and other criminals. Earlier in his address, Air Vice Marshal Aneke expressed gratitude to the governor for the support, contributions, and collaboration the command has enjoyed from the state government. He said the state and the force have remained strategic partners for years, which, according to him, has yielded immeasurable peace and stability, as well as economic growth for the state and its people. He expressed the commitment of NAV to continue working closely with the state government to ensure the safety of lives and property in the state. Let's move now to Africa, where the head of Mali Junta's General Assimi Goïta has granted himself a 5-year presidential mandate renewable as many times as necessary and without election in a bill signed into law yesterday. The bill implemented recommendations of the National Dialogue consultations organized by the military regime in April and boycotted by political parties. The law approved by Goita allows him to lead the West African nation until at least 2030, despite the military government's initial pledge to return to civilian rule in March 2024. On the foreign scene, US President Donald Trump has said that he will send weapons, including Patriot air defense system, to Ukraine via NATO. Trump told journalists that in the New Deal, NATO will distribute the weapons and would pay for the weapons. His announcement came after Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky spoke of having a positive dialogue with Trump on ensuring that arms arrived on time, particularly air defense systems. Zelensky said he had asked for 10 Patriot systems after a surge in Russian drone and missile attacks on Ukraine cities in the past week. Still on the foreign scene, US President Donald Trump has said that he will impose a 35% tariff on Canadian goods starting on August the 1st, even as the two countries were days away from self-imposed deadline to reach a new trade deal. The announcement came in the form of a letter published on Trump's social media platform, along with additional threat of black tariff of 15% or 20% on most trade partners. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Mike Carney said his government will continue to protect his country's workers and businesses as they head towards the new deadline. Still to come in the news. Palace signs grocer defender so. Searching for details of this in just a moment.
Broadening your horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. We are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Risk on your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250, polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further inquiries, please call 0704 158 5642 or 0704 541 7707. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Many thanks for staying tuned. On a business news, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Bayo Ojulari, has attributed the country's high oil production cost to massive security investment aimed at safeguarding crude oil pipelines in the Niger Delta region. Ojulari, who spoke in an interview on the sidelines of the ninth Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries International Seminar in Vienna, said Nigeria's current cost of crude production has surged to as high as $30 per barrel, more than double the global average. Reports say this is 200% higher than the cost of producing the same crude in Saudi Arabia, which is $10 per barrel. The NNPC boss explained that the government had to overhaul crude infrastructure security, working closely with government agencies and local communities of vigilance groups to safeguard critical oil infrastructure. Still in business, the president of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has doubted the possibility of the state-owned Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna refineries functioning again. Dangote also stated that the refineries, which are under the management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, had gulped up to $18 billion, yet have refused to work. The businessman spoke while hosting members of the Global CEO Africa from the Lagos Business School after a tour of Dangote Petroleum Refinery in Lekki, Lagos. According to Dangote, the 650,000 capacity Dangote refinery which he built after the government of late President Umar Yar'Adua aborted his acquisition of the government refineries, now has over 50% of its output dedicated to premium motor spirit, saying that the government refineries committed just 22% of the production to petrol. On the health news, the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NECA, has announced plans to convene the 7th National Council on AIDS, which will focus on Nigerians' HIV response in the context of evolving global AIDS dynamics. The agency made this known in a statement signed by the chairman of the Planning Committee, Dr. Daniel Ndwekwe. The event, to be held in Lagos with the support from the Lagos State Agency for the Control of AIDS, is themed Advancing National HIV Sustainability Agenda in a Changing Global Policy on AIDS. The meeting is designed to bring together representatives from government ministries, civil society, development partners, and affected communities, with discussions focusing on ensuring the long-term sustainability of HIV prevention, care, and treatment programs nationwide. Still in health, the Association of Community Pharmacies of Nigeria has required its outright rejection of any legislative or administrative move to subsume the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria (PCN) under a proposed central regulatory authority for health facilities. The group warned that such a move should erode decades of professional autonomy, disrupt current pharmaceutical regulatory frameworks, and reverse the nation's recent global gains in drug safety and control. The association leadership, in a no-hold-barred interview with newsmen ahead of a 44th annual international conference selected for July 22nd to 27 in Oka, Anambra State, expressed deep reservations over the proposed National Health Facility Regulatory Authority bill currently before the National Assembly. They argued that the major plan embedded in the bill would amount to institutional sabotage, considering the PCN's expanded mandate under the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria Establishment Act of 2022. We move now to sports where Crystal Palace have signed Croatia defender Bruna Sosa from Ajax on a 3-year deal. The 27-year-old plays as a left-sided wing back, and Palace said he is capable of influencing matches at both ends of the pitch. He is Palace's second signing after the arrival of Argentina goalkeeper Walter Benitez on a free transfer. The FA Cup winners are awaiting a UEFA decision on whether they can play in next season's Europa League. Soso has reportedly joined for a £3 million. He made 25 appearances for years, but spent last season on loan at Italian Serie A side Torino, playing in 20 games with the side. Still in sport, England midfielder Jonah Henderson is set to sign for Brentford after his exit from Ajax earlier this week. The 35-year-old would join Bees on a 2-year deal after the Dutch club agreed to end his contract a year early. Reports say Henderson has considerable interest from top clubs in England and Europe, but Brentford have won the race to sign the former Liverpool skipper. The 84-cap England midfielder will help plug the gap vacated by former Bees captain Christian Norgard, who has left for Arsenal. The deal formalities are expected to be confirmed in the coming days. On entertainment news, Canadian superstar Justin Bieber has released his 7th album, Swag, today. Comprising 21 tracks totaling 54 minutes, the project marks the return of the 31-year-old singer more than 3 years after his last single, Honest, a duet with Don Toliver. Bieber's comeback followed a period marked by the singer's withdrawal from the media. Last in the news at this hour, Nigerian actress Iyabo Ojo has called out his longtime rival Lizzy Anjorin on social media. Iyabo issued a warning while alerting the public to hold Anjorin responsible should anything happen to her or her children. This comes as just days after her office was gutted by fire. Recall that Lizzie Anjorin had early announced in a viral video on social media that a defamation case filed against her by Iyabo had been struck out in court. She also accused Iyabo of associating with people who bully her. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtvlive.com.